Going? Gone. Cool. What's up, everybody? You guys are so dead. It's one of those days. Just a couple clouds out, and everybody from Vegas gets real tired all of a sudden, or they don't want to go anywhere. Said, good morning. There. Oh, everybody's live. Okay, cool. It's like a whole revival in here now. My name's Josiah. Some of you have met me. Some of you haven't. Or maybe you have, or you've seen me in the distance, or we had a weird, awkward conversation because I'm a huge introvert. But I run the youth program here at Life Christian Church, and I felt like right now would be a good time to kind of report on what's going on because we kind of end up being like a distant cousin when it comes to the church because we meet on Thursdays. Most kids don't get up early enough on Sundays, even though it's 11:30. So here we are. So here's what's going on. When we first started, we only had a couple kids. Actually, we had one kid. His name's Ronald. Ronald is one of my favorite dudes in the whole world because when I met him, he was all by himself sitting over here in this section. I said, Ronald, what are you doing here? And he said, I wanted to come to church. I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 13. I said, what grade are you in? He goes, I'm going into 8th. I said, why are you coming to church, though? Like, that's not normal amongst your age group. And he said, I saw a couple TikToks, and I thought I should change my life. And I was like, hey, man, whatever. So fast forward, we start the youth group up. He ends up bringing his sister, Michaela. He ends up bringing his older brother, Josh, who helps us out. And then they started inviting all their friends from school. And now we went from having 2 or 3 kids to having double digits. Now we range between 10 to 15 kids every week. And it's pretty awesome. You know, these kids are, they're learning. They're changing their lives. Yeah, you can. I don't care. I would have reacted the same way. Sounds good. But yeah, it's like it's super cool to see it grow. And we actually went to convention, which means I drove a lot to Phoenix while everybody played on their phones. So I got to look at a lot of dirt, and I did a lot of things that my dad would have did growing up that I never understood until I started driving, where I'd be like, whoa, look at that cactus. And everyone's like, what? But I got to do that, and it was awesome. It was Friday night, Saturday. Everybody was tired. Everybody was pounding energy drinks because you're trying to hang, and it was super rad. All the kids went down to the altar almost every single time. They were dancing, singing, praying, all that stuff. Just truly amazing stuff. So that's that. Now we're here today. Welcome. That was previously on and all that stuff, but here we are. So I'm going to speak today. Hopefully you learned something because that's what I always want when I speak. When I speak, I do a lot of homework because I'm not a smart guy. I've always been good at things like wrestling and fighting people and stuff like that. So I do a lot of homework before I get here. So when I speak, I want you guys to get something out of it. I want you to learn something. And if you don't learn something, I want you to get a new perspective on something. Look at it from a different angle. I want to spark a conversation. Whether it's in this room right after, it's in the foyer right after, it's in the parking lot right after, or maybe it's at lunch with somebody, or it's on your commute when you're going to work or to and from work, or maybe it's at work with somebody or on the phone with someone in your family. I want to start that. I want to get that conversation going and give you something new to look at, right? So today, I'm going to try to not mess up the new series name. I get to kick off the new series called The Greatest Month of Generosity Ever. So I'm going to read some scriptures really quick so that we can start to branch off of that. This isn't my Bible because I thought it was going to be cool and use a different Bible. But that Bible is so confusing to the whole world, even me. So here we go. Ready? First scripture, 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 11 through 13, which says, you will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. The service that you perform is not only supplying the needs of the Lord's people, but it's also overflowing in many expressions of thanks to God. Because of the service by which you have proved yourselves, others will praise God for the obedience that accompanies your confession of the gospel with them and with everyone else. Sorry, I think I'm dyslexic. I didn't find out till I was an adult. Then the next one is Psalms 112, and it's just number 5. God will come to those who are generous and lend freely, who conduct their affairs with justice. So, today we're going to talk about generosity. I had to Google the definition of generosity because I was bad at vocab growing up. It is the quality of being kind or generous. One thing I learned growing up is if the definition has the base word in it, it's not the real definition. So the definition of generous is showing a readiness to give more of something as money or time than is strictly necessary or expected. So this is one of those concepts that you've known your entire life. We say that a lot. You've known it the whole time. But it's one of those concepts that has a second part to it that makes it harder now that you're a Christian. So generosity is giving, which we're all like, I can give. But it's like, but then you don't expect anything back. You don't get a gift back. You don't get anything back. That's where people struggle. It's kind of like I was teaching my youth one time. When you're little, you learn to forgive, right? I forgive you. But as a Christian, you learn to forgive and then wish them well. Like, I forgive you, but I hope you get hit by a car. It's like, no, now that you're a Christian, I forgive you, and I hope that you live the best life you could ever live. Generosity is giving and then not getting anything back. And that's where we struggle. Sometimes we don't like to give, so then when we finally teach people to give, then they're expecting something in return. So for instance, one example I saw when I was in Poland was these TikTokers, Instagram influencers, when the whole world was going through riots, what they would do is they'd go downtown and they'd be like, hey, can I use your drill really quick? And then they would like be drilling something, they'd be like this. And they'd be like, thank you so much, give their drill back, and they go on the gram and they'd be like, helping out downtown in the riots, helping rebuild, hashtag being a better person. It's like, what? No, first of all, you didn't even give. And then the second thing is you're expecting all these likes and these comments and these follows, right? That's not giving. That's not generosity. So it's not your fault that you're like this. It started when you were real little. When you're a kid, an example I have is sometimes I get talked into working in the back, which is not my forte, mainly because I talk to teens like I talk to adults. So then there's no difference. I talk to kids like I talk to adults. I'm like, hey, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And the kid's like, I don't know. I like goldfish, I guess. So here's an example. Here's where you started to go wrong. It's real easy. When you're little, sometimes a scenario will be like, I'll see a kid. He'll be on the ground coloring. He'll have some crayons in one hand. He'll have goldfish, flavor blast, extra cheddar, because if you need different ones, you're weird. He'll have that over here. Maybe a juice box. He'll have some Legos, though. He'll have a ball. He'll have Hot Wheels and a dump truck. And he's just living his best life, right? This is all mine. This is my kingdom of stuff. I'm a child, and this is all mine. You can't have any of it. And what happens is usually another kid will come along. If they're polite, they're a PK or something like that. They'll be like, hey, can I please have that? And the kid will probably be like, no. Or if they're a normal kid, they'll take the dump truck and they'll walk away, which then the kid will get up and like punch them or something. And you'll be like, now I have to come over there and like work through this problem with everybody. And I'll be like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, oh, well, I wanted to play with the dump truck, but Johnny wouldn't let me play with the dump truck. I'll be like, Johnny, you have 100 things. You have all the things. And he'll be like, but I'm using it. Now, because I was raised on Scooby-Doo and SVU, I start to do my detective thing. This is impossible. He has a crayon in one hand, flavor blast on the other hand. And I go, hey, that's impossible. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You can have the dump truck. And it's like, yeah, thank you. I'm an adult and a detective. So, now, this carries on through your whole life, though. As you get older, it's not dump trucks, it's not Hot Wheels, it's not Legos, right? It's cars and houses and paychecks. It's time and talents, right? You start to hold on to all of it. It's mine. You can't have any of it. You can't be a part of any of this. I'm not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. This is mine. It's all mine. I worked for it. I received it. I got it. You can't have any of it. It's just a little bit different, right? So we're going to go through some scenarios where we're going to talk about generosity and how you can start to give back. So let's start with a real easy concept, something that everybody understands, something that's not awkward to talk about in church. Let's talk about money. Now, some of you are thinking, oh God, here we go again with the money thing. Me too. I hate talking about money, and I hate when churches talk about money, because I was one of those people growing up where it's like, ugh, The church is always asking for money. You need it for missions and other things. It's like, yeah, okay. Now that I work in a church, I understand it a little bit better. Here's how much we don't want to talk about money, though. One, when's the last time you heard anybody talk about money up here other than me? And I had to mentally prepare for the whole thing. I was like outside shadow boxing and stuff. It's like, then on top of that, it's like when somebody gets picked to talk about money, the rest of the staff's like, you drew the short stick, dude. Go have that awkward conversation with the group. And it's like, oh, man. Here's how much we don't want to talk about money. I don't know if you've noticed, but we don't have ushers anymore. We used to do that weird thing that you have to do halfway through church where you start handing around a basket. You're like, is this money for everybody? Do we take some? Or you hand out a bucket, or you do that one where there's like handles, and then there's like a hard part, but then there's a bag under. And you're like, I don't know how to grab this. Here, you can have it. We don't have that anymore. We mounted things on the back wall so that we can do this, not talk about money. But so when we do talk about money, it's like this. Yeah, guys, this Sunday was awesome. I'm so glad everybody came out. We had coffee together. We fellowshiped together. That worship was awesome. Oh, man. And then we had that awesome sermon. And then we had more worship, and we've just been touched by the Lord. Oh, yes. And on your way out, there's a thing in the back where if you put your envelope in there, you can put it in there. And you guys have an awesome week. You're like, what was that middle part? What was that part at the end where he talked really fast? It's like, I think he was talking about money. Yeah, I knew this church wasn't different. It's like, so let's talk about where that money's going. Cool? So first of all, can you toss up that picture really quick? That's not where I live. That's not where I live. I don't know anybody that lives there, and those aren't my cars. Like, that's the type of place, like, I would drive by and I'd be like, I can't believe people live there. That's not me. That's not anybody I know. My shoes are falling apart. I would kill for a new pair of shoes before I kill for anything like that. That's not us, man. Your leaders, your pastors, that's not where the money's going. None of it. It goes towards simple things. You know this concept, too. They're called bills. And they're real annoying. You show up, you're like, oh, I work all day, and now you want my money. I thought you already took my money when there was a bunch of negatives on there. Yeah, so they pay for things like, I don't know, the lights, the water to make coffee, to pays for coffee, pays for cleaning supplies to clean this place so that it's clean when you come in here, pays for things like sound equipment, and that's when people are like, ooh, we're branching out a little bit. But last time I checked, there's no laser light show up here. There's no fog machine. Things I used to make fun of big churches about. There's no, 6 guitarists. Not yet. We're going to get to that in a minute. There's none of that, right? There's nothing crazy. Your money's going simply straight to things like keeping a pastor on, a payroll. And I've talked to him because he lives in the same house. If he could, he wouldn't, It pays for... the things, the bulletins you hand out, it pays for pens, and it pays for chairs, and it pays for normal stuff that you know about every day. It pays for all of that stuff. Bills. Very normal things. What else does it pay for? It pays for missions. When you're a kid, it's called BGMC, Boys and Girls Missions Club. When you're a teen, it's called Speed the Light. When you're an adult, it's called missions. Because when you become an adult, everything becomes lame. What happens in missions, though? Well, we raised a bunch of money in convention for people that live near us, the Navajo tribe, where 40% don't have running water in their house. It's like that thing where you go downstairs and you take for granted, apparently. Yeah, people don't have that, all over the world, too. That's where your money's going. It's getting people that believe and want to go through the suck, pretty much, to build those wells and to help running water and to run electricity. And it helps get people vehicles to get places where a mountain is pretty much a mudslide at this point, that they need a 4-wheel drive car to get up there to transport supplies like food and medicine and water. Real basic stuff. And then they build schools, and they build, little hospitals and stuff like that, so that people who wouldn't have it any other way get it because you gave a little bit. It's real selfish things, right? To give food and water and medicine to people that would never have it any other way. It's real selfish of the church to want money for that. And all it is 10%, right? That's what the Bible says, at least 10%. You can give more if you want. We don't really know what happens when you put it in that black box. I'm not a part of that. That's not my job. Mainly because I'd be like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this much money. But that's what you're giving it towards. That's where all your money's going. It's going towards taking care of people. And even getting, nowadays, what's crazy is it's getting religious items in countries where it's illegal. That's right. Say illegal real quick. To be a Christian, to believe something, to believe that there's one God and he sent his one and only son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for our sins. It's illegal to believe that. Believe it. Like, I believe John Wick is a good movie. I couldn't imagine, like, someone busting in the house and being like, you believe John Wick's a good movie? It's like, yeah. These people believe in God. They believe in Jesus. And they can't get a Bible. They can't download the app. That's where your money's going. So I get it. I do it too. I did it a couple of times at convention where they're like, we're going to take up another offering. And I'm like, really? Another one? Dude, I'm broke. I gave it all the first time because I thought that was the only one. But we're doing another one? I get it. I get hypocritical sometimes too. I got to check myself. I got to run myself through like a little workout to make sure that I'm better. But that's where your money's going. It's not going anywhere hypocritical. It's not going towards mansions or awesome cars. It's not going towards a helicopter or whatever. It's going towards helping people. It's going towards taking care of people. It's going towards getting people items that you take for granted. I mean, there's a Bible in like every hotel room ever. And in China, they can't get one. That's where your money's going. That's why now I feel a little okay to get up in front of the church and be like, hey, we're going to take up an offering. We're going to do some cool stuff through Speed the Light, through BGMC, through missions. I feel okay saying that now because I'm like, oh, the money's not going anywhere weird. It's not getting laundered or nothing. It's going to go somewhere awesome for somebody. So that's money. Cool? If you have any more questions, you can run it by me. We can talk about it. I'm going to be real. There's going to be a lot more jokes because that's how I deal with stuff. The next thing that you can give that's real easy in the church is your time and your talents. Say time and you did it. Time and talents. Now, before we go into this, let me tell you something. Let me save an awkward conversation for Pastor Josh or Pastor Brent because apparently when we talk about talents in the church, everybody thinks there's one of two positions we can get in. We either got to stand up and preach or I got to be on the worship team. And it's like, and I hate talking in front of people and I can't play the drums. It's like, that's not it. So before you have this weird conversation that ends with something like, we've been talking to God and I think we're going to go in a different direction. Before we have one of those weird conversations, let me tell you about all the talents. There's more than two positions. I know that's insane. But we need people for everything. I'm done working, you know? No, I'm just kidding. But we need people to make coffee, hang out, you know? You just make coffee, toss it out. It's like I do it every week. I'm fine with it if that's how it stays forever. But I'd rather have some buddies, you know? We need people who are going to greet. Simply just walking in the door and being like, hey, how's it going? Welcome to Life Christian Church. You need some literature? Here you go. Hope to see you inside. We need people who are going to work in the kids. And like if you're thinking like, I heard this story earlier about the kids. No, thank you. You can just be the guy that stands there that keeps everybody in check like, hey, pay attention. What are you doing? Picking your nose again? Weird. That's how I'd say it. You can say that same stuff in the youth. We need people in the youth. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Picking your nose again? You're in high school. What are you doing? We need people for that. We need people in the booth right there. And let me tell you, it's a little more stressful than you think. But just blame it on me. Just be like, Josiah showed me. That's how you do it. And then Brent will be like, I don't think that's how he showed you. But I'll yell at him or something. And I'll be like, yeah, that sounds good. But it's real easy. We just need someone to click around so that the people in the back, they get to not worry about my stupid picture with the mansion and all the cars. They can come out here and they can listen to the sermon. They can take notes and they can worship and they can hang out and they can sing. They can do normal things, right? If you have people, and what's that phrase? I don't know. I don't use old people phrases, but what's the phrase where it's like a many hands make light work or something like that? It's like if you do once a week and we all do once a week and there's like 52 of us in here, quick math, that's once a year. And like you don't have to do it all the time. You just do it then, right? Real simple stuff. And I'm not even good at math. It's talents, it's time, it's giving what you have. I mean, and if I listed everything and you're like, we have to interact with people, and that's not you, because that's kind of me sometimes. Sometimes I show up and I'm like, there's going to be people there, and we're going to have to talk. If that's you, maybe you could be on the group that texts people. Hey, man, missed you at church this week. Where were you? Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do? Oh, you're sick? Do you need soup? Is there anything I can help you out with? You need someone to go get groceries? Like real simple stuff. Real, we're a family type of thing. Which brings me back. Not back. It takes me to the next point. Community. Not that weird show that Joel McHale was in where they all went to college for a little bit. I'm talking about this right here. Us guys. Family. Hanging out. A group. I say it all the time. I'll say it a million times. Other people are going to say it too. The church, and this is one of those concepts that everybody messes up. The church is not a building. It just happens to be in a building. Kind of like how like a football team isn't a stadium, right? It's like they're the team, they're the people, right? The church is the people. That's the best way I can come up with an analogy right here, right now. So, we are the church. And going back to the child thing, we have got a real misconception about how to do this stuff. We start doing this thing where we show up, you serve me. Thank you so much for giving it to me. Thank you so much for praise and worship for me. Thank you so much for preaching to me. Thank you so much for giving me a puzzle piece. Thank you so much for giving me one of those little connection cards. Thank you so much for me. No, dude. What? We, there's a different word with an E at the end. We have to do it together. We have to work together in order to make a better thing. If you work together, then your programs become better. And you can invest in them better. And then your programs can grow. And then it gets really easy to spread across love and peace and joy and prosperity. You can really get that across because now everybody's on the same team. Community. This all happens through giving without expecting thing in return. Whether it's money or sending that text or hanging out with the kids once a month, hanging out in the back and clicking some buttons once a month. All these things happen through generosity. Here's what happens if you don't have generosity. Who got a puzzle piece when they came in? If you didn't, I apologize. We put youth in charge of it, and that's how it goes. If you got a puzzle piece, if you didn't get a puzzle piece, you know what a puzzle piece looks like, right? Puzzle pieces are different shapes, they're different colors, and if you're like me, and you're not that smart, they take a really long time to put together. It took me 30 minutes to put together a puzzle that is designed for children. And it's not like Netflix was on. It's not like there was music on. I'm just not smart. It took me 30 minutes to put together a puzzle. But here's what I'm getting at, because I want to drive this point home. When you look at a puzzle piece, they're all different shapes, they're all different sizes, and they're all different colors. And they're unique in their own way. But they're a part of something bigger. They're a part of something more. If they give themselves to the rest, they can make this super awesome picture of dinosaurs. Yeah, and it glows in the dark. 30 minutes to do that. Can you believe it? But as we move forward as a church, we can't just be puzzle pieces anymore that are drifting through the ether of nothingness, hoarding all our talents, all our time, all our money. We need to give generously to those around us, to the community that we're in, to the program that we're invested in, to our church, so that we can make something bigger, more beautiful. That's what it all boils down to. So, what, call the worship team up? Sure. I'm going to pray. If you got any questions, come ask me after. If you thought the sermon was good, keep it to yourself. If you're mad, then you can come talk to me. But yeah, let's pray. Just bow your heads. Thank you so much, God, for these wonderful people that you brought here today, to this community, to my church, to the ones I love. Thank you so much for allowing us to come together in a place where it's legal to do and believe in you. As we move forward, please let us give generously to those around us. Let us give our time and talent and money to everything so that we can build a better tomorrow where everyone can love and know you. I love you so, so much, and I can't wait to see where you take this group of people, and I can't wait to see where you take this church. In your name I pray. Amen.